In this video, I'm going to show you how to remove first node in a singly linked list. So here's our pseudocode. As you can see, it's very short. And here is where we're going to write out our new method. And that method we're going to call shift. So shift will remove the first node inside our list. All right. So here, as you can see here, as a matter of fact, let me run this code right now. You can see I'm pushing in 3 elements. So let's see here, pull up the console, and you can see I got a length of 3, which is exactly what we have here. So if I was to draw this out, it would be 7. Here, let me do it like this. Create a comment. All right, so it would be a 7 as the head, and that's pointing to 14, and then you got the 19. That's exactly how it's drawn out over here. All right, so the 7 is the head, the 19 is the tail. So the idea behind this method, what we're shooting for, is to remove this 7 here in addition to that pointer that's pointing to the next element. So remove this altogether, the first element. Let's go ahead and get started. So going back to our pseudocode here, you see that we're checking for is length of 0 and is length of 1. These are both of our edge cases. If you saw the previous video in which I created this pop method, you can see here at the very beginning we were dealing with taking care of our edge cases, which we were checking for length of 0 and a length of 1. So in the case of the shift method, this is going to be exactly the same. All right, we want to check both edge cases. So what I'm going to do is write this out again. I'm going to do this dot length of 0 if there's no nodes inside of our list. Well, there's nothing to delete or remove, so just return undefined. Second one is this dot length of 1. So all we have to do here is just reset both the head and the tail. That will automatically just make a singly linked list that is completely empty. So this dot head equals null, and this dot tail equals null. Null. And then because we are decrementing, we are removing the first node, so we still want to do this dot length minus to decrement, and then return this. You could also do just return, but in my case I do want to return the instance, which will give me information of the length of 0 and the head and tail being null. All right, so you can do however you want, but I'm going to do return this. All right, next, now that we have both of our edge cases here dealt with, the next thing is to make the head to be the current head's next property. Okay, so this one, the way we're going to do that is this dot head, the new head we want to be this dot head's next node. Okay, this right here will pretty much sever or remove this first node from our list like this. So if you look at this, it might be tricky to understand, but if you look at this dot head dot next, this statement here, this head dot next, well, this is the head, right? So by having the next property added to it, we are referring to this right here just simply by adding that dot next. All right, so now that we are saying we know that we're referring to this here, where we're trying to assign it to based on this equal sign is assign it to become the new head here. So because of that, this statement altogether is pretty much taking care of removing and deleting the first element here. All right, and making this 14, which was the second node, to be the new head. So now this is what we should end up getting just based off this statement here. All right, so next is we want to decrement the length and then return this. Okay, and so this dot length minus minus, and then return this. All right, and that's it. You see how short that is? That was very short and easy. All right, so this is what we should be getting here. And let's go ahead and test this thing out. All right, so what I'm gonna do is, all right, so we got these three, and I'm gonna run our code, and you can see here we get a length of 3. Let me expand this here. All right, with the head being 7, which you see here, 7 it is the first, and then the tail being 19, which was the last node that we pushed in. So that's correct. All right, so let's go ahead and use our shift method. So what was the purpose of the shift method? It was to remove the first element. So that being the case, we should have this 7 being removed. It is the first element, right? All right, so let's go ahead and give that a try. I'm going to save and then run our code. And as you can, from the get-go, you can see that length is 2, so that's a good sign. And here that the new head is 14, and here it's showing that the new tail is 19, which is right here. So that's exactly how we drew it out here when I was trying to explain to you. So that's exactly what we end up getting here. So if we were to do another shift call on this here and do another shift, and so we know that this is what we have remaining, and if we were to call another shift, so what we should expect to happen is that this 14 would be removed, and we should end up with just 19, right? It should show up at length of 1, and the head and tail being both 19. So let's go ahead and save and rerun our code. If we look here, you see length of 1, and the head is 19, and it's also the tail, which you see here. All right, that's good. All right, so now that we have a length of 1, let's go ahead and call this again. So we do have a length of 1, and which is only this element here. Now, this is interesting because now remember that we had these 2 edge cases set up in the very beginning. So what this is going to happen, since we currently have a length of 1, as this method is executed, it should end up running this block of code here, because the condition is this: if this length is equal to 1, then what's going to happen is going to set the head and the tail to be null and decrement the length. Okay, so let's go ahead and see that this occurs. I'm going to make sure I save this and rerun our code. So here, look at what we get here. So you see length of 0, and the head and the tail are both null because it ran this block of code here. All right, now, so that means that this 19 doesn't exist. So we have 0 nodes inside of our list currently. So if we were to go ahead and run this again, the shift method again, on a list that has 0 nodes at the moment, we should have this block of code run, right? Because now this is the other edge case, right? It's saying if this length is equal to 1 or 0, then just return undefined. So we should end up seeing undefined in our console. So let's go ahead and test that out. If I save, rerun the code, and indeed we get undefined here, and I could continue and do the same thing again with shift, and I should get undefined again. You get it another undefined. And that was it for our shift method. You see, it was very simple, very short and easy. All right, so there you go.